everyone from around the world. I am George Batista, and this is Wellness Talk. Wellness Talk, as always, is a show that goes over the latest in health and healing, nutrition, and supplements. We take the mystery out of supplements, take the mystery out of health. Hope you guys are doing well, and thanks for being with us today. This show is brought to you by Wellness Resources, 35-year-old supplement company that has been in business since 1985, bringing you some of the most premier supplements in the world. Make sure you go to myvitaminresource.com to check out their supplements. And if you put in the promo code counterparts, you will get free shipping on all orders. Also, make sure you go to georgebatista.com to check out all the articles that we go over. And it's growing every single week. Got some great stuff coming out. And I've noticed that the traffic is just getting bigger and bigger every single week. So I want to thank you guys for supporting us every single week, not only on this show, but just the website itself as well. And just keep in mind that this is drive time information. This is free information. So for you guys to share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Some say the information and the advice given on this show is worth what you pay for it. So check it out. And by the way, have you heard that they finally loosened the restrictions from the pandemic, which is pretty cool. So it turns out what I said on this show over a year ago is true, right? Basically, pretty much I said that we're going to have to live with COVID, that we're going to, that everyone's pretty much going to get it. And what was the big thing I said? Your immune system, the state of your immune system is the only game in town. And that is going to determine whether, what kind of reaction you get to it. And it's pretty much, that's how it's panned out, right? And so again, it's about boosting immunity. So today we're going to talk a little bit about something that can help with your immune system. We're going to talk about some new studies on, of course, vitamin D. Now, there's been some articles that came out recently, of course, trying to vilify vitamin D. And, that's been going on since there's been talk about vitamin D, right? So, but we're going to talk about the actual truth and some brand new information out of University of South Australia. These two articles are from actually the same university. And the first one is down on vitamin D. It could be the cause of chronic inflammation. So we're going to talk about the new studies on chronic inflammation and how they're finding low vitamin D in folks that have that chronic inflammation. Then we're going to talk about, again, from the University of South Australia, vitamin D deficiency can lead to dementia. I've talked about dementia on this show, and those of you who want to take a look at that and my episodes on dementia and Alzheimer's, definitely go back and take a look at that, because those are, really information-packed episodes. So I think you'll find that of interest. But this, again, is going to be more studies on the brain as far as it relates to low vitamin D. So I think you guys will get a lot of good information from this. Then we're going to talk about a subject that I haven't really talked about on this show before, but it is something that, it's very important to bring up, especially those of you who are buying supplements, whether you're getting them from where I recommend or whether you're getting them from somewhere else. It's very important information to know that Big Pharma is buying your favorite supplement brands. So this is from Next Health. And we're going to talk about how Big Pharma is, obviously Big Pharma has always been in competition with the supplement companies, trying to get rid of the supplement companies. And as well, Congress is still trying to do that till this day, or they're trying to at least regulate it to make supplement companies more like drugs. And I talked about that on the previous show. And make sure you guys write your local congressman or your local representative to try to stop that, because that's going to be a big problem. But anyway, we're going to talk about why and how Big Pharma is getting into the supplement business. So that's very, very important for you guys to watch out for when you're buying supplements. And then we're also going to talk about Big Pharma or family owned. And this is from Wellness Resources. Who makes the vitamins you take? So again, two articles that are also related, but we're going to talk about actual specific brands that are owned by Big Pharma that you may not have known that actually are owned by them. So it's going to be good information. And we're also going to have a clip from the owner of Wellness Resources that I interviewed her. and she's going to talk about why Wellness Resources is so important as far as a company in the whole vitamin and mineral space, and why they've remained a homegrown family company, and why that's important. I think that's very, very important. So, small clip, but I think it's going to be good information for those of you who didn't see that. So, we got a lot of good stuff coming at you. So let's get started. All right. So first, we're going to talk about down on vitamin D. It could be the cause of chronic inflammation. So I'm going to remind you guys, those of you who listen to the show know how I feel about vitamin D, but I'm going to remind you how vitamin D, how important it is. Okay. So let's take a look at just how important vitamin D is first with a few statistics. Number one, obviously, vitamin D is the most potent steroid hormone in your body. Remember that vitamin D is a hormone. Okay, at the end of the day, a lot of people, talk about it as a vitamin and they call it vitamin D and that type of thing, but it's actually a hormone. Okay, and it's a hormone that's made in your body in response to sunlight, and actually cholesterol is involved in that, and it goes through a whole synthesis in your body from D2 to the active form of calcitriol or D3. Okay, and it's typically made in the middle time during the day when you get the UVB radiation, and obviously the when you have skin tone like me, a little bit darker than other folks, it takes a little bit more for vitamin D to penetrate my skin than it does someone with lighter skin tone. So these are things you got to think about when it comes to vitamin D. And by the way, we're heading towards the latter half of the summer months. So those of you who are on a program like myself should definitely start to ramp up your vitamin D status, because once you get into the winter, keep in mind that it takes months for your vitamin D to get up to the optimal levels that you want. So I suggest, we're in the middle of August, start supplementing now with your vitamin D, because before you know it, it'll get cold. And, again, it takes a while for your vitamin D to build up, especially if hopefully your vitamin D is a good status. But again, obviously you want to make sure you check with your doctor and check out to see where those numbers are. But it's very important. This is what we do in my home. Now, vitamin D influences 3,000 of your 24,000 genes. 3,000 genes. This is why you have to make sure that you have enough vitamin D in your system to influence all those genes. Okay. Vitamin D receptors are found throughout your entire body. It induces cell differentiation and controls cell proliferation. And there are over 830 peer-reviewed scientific studies proving its effectiveness. And this is where, I want to make sure this information gets out there, because again, you see these articles that have come out, articles that have come out recently trying to say, oh, you don't need vitamin D, stop taking vitamin D, stop taking supplements, they don't do anything, and all this nonsense. There's 830 peer-reviewed scientific studies proving its effectiveness. I'm sure there's more now, because this information might be a little bit dated, but it's extremely important. So now we're going to talk a little bit about why. So from the research from the University of South Australia shows a direct link between low levels of vitamin D and high levels of inflammation. Now, the study examined the genetic data of 294,000 participants in the UK Biobank study using Mendelian randomization to show the association between vitamin D and C-reactive protein levels, which is an indicator of inflammation. Now, C-reactive protein is kind of if you get basically high levels of C-reactive protein, they're generated by the liver in response to inflammation. Okay, so you can see that on a blood test. So if your C-reactive protein is high, you've got some inflammation going on there. Okay, so what they have found in this study, it shows that the higher levels of C-reactive protein correlated with low levels of vitamin D in all these subjects. Okay, so this is very, very interesting, and this is important information, because again, vitamin D, one of the things that it does, it does so many things, again, responsible for all these genes, but one of the things it does is it helps your body deal with inflammation, right? It actually caps out the amount of inflammation that your body has to deal with. So extremely important. But basically, what they're saying here, and I'm quoting in this, it says boosting vitamin D in people with deficiencies may reduce chronic inflammation, helping them avoid a number of related diseases. And this was supported by the National Health and Medical Research Council and published in the International Journal of Epidemiology. And the study also raises the possibility that having adequate vitamin D concentrations may mitigate complications arising from obesity and reduce the risk of severity of chronic illnesses, including cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and autoimmune diseases. So, this is directly from the study. This is not me saying this. This is directly from the study. Another quote from the study: we have repeatedly seen evidence for health benefits for increasing vitamin D concentrations in individuals with very low levels, while for others there appears to be little or no benefit. But these findings highlight the importance of avoiding clinical vitamin D deficiency and provide further evidence for the wide-ranging effects of hormonal vitamin D. Huge information here, okay? So again, just some more information. This is brand new information on this, but it's very, very important to get your vitamin D levels checked and get your vitamin D levels up, because you know it just does so much for you. Okay, and then we're going to kind of piggyback on that, which would be the next study, again from University of South Australia. Vitamin D deficiency can lead to dementia. So, and this was a first of this study. This is very interesting. The world's first study from the University of South Australia could make this reality. A new genetic research shows a direct link between dementia and a lack of vitamin D. So they were investigating the association between vitamin D, neuroimaging features, and the risk of dementia and stroke. Now, the study found a few things. I'm going to go over what the study found. Low levels of vitamin D were associated with lower brain volumes and an increased risk of dementia and stroke. Keep in mind, they were looking at neuroimaging. Okay, so they're actually looking at pictures of the brain here, right? They also found genetic analysis supported a causal effect of vitamin D deficiency and dementia, right? So this was a study of about 487,000 Australians live with have dementia, and it is the country's second leading cause of death. Now, these are people who live with dementia. Now, one thing about these studies you have to understand: these are not small studies. This is like close to 500,000 people who have dementia. Okay, so if it was a small study of 100 people, maybe even 1,000 people, it'd be one thing. But this is 500,000 people. This is what makes it significant. Now, globally, more than 55 million people have dementia, with 10 million new cases diagnosed every year. So the genetic study analyzed data from these 294,000 participants from the UK Burbank, examining the impact of low levels of vitamin D and the risk of dementia and stroke. Okay, and again, this was a study. The method of using measured variation in genes to examine the causal effect of a modifiable exposure on disease were used to test for underlying causality for neuroimaging outcomes, dementia, and stroke. So again, this is a quote from the study. And the study says, our study is the first to examine the effects of very low levels of vitamin D on the risk of dementia and stroke using robust genetic analysis among a large population. Okay. And this is huge stuff, because they found, they observed that up to 17% of dementia cases might have been avoided by boosting vitamin D levels to be within normal range. Now, the findings are incredibly significant given the high prevalence of dementia around the world. Now, again, another quote in this: if we're able to change this reality through ensuring that none of us is severely vitamin D deficient, it would also have further benefits, and we could change the health and well-being for thousands. Again, this is directly from the study. So low vitamin D correlated with dementia in a good portion of these folks. So again, good information on this vitamin D and dementia. Again, this is one of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, actually now thousands of studies that correlate this vitamin D information. So just some things to think about. Again, those of you who just to make sure that you're getting your vitamin D's. And by the way, just keep in mind that there is a portion of society, there's a portion of people out there that have a genetic polymorphism, which I've talked about on this show, which have a problem with translating or actually making the proper vitamin D in their body. Okay. So these folks have a harder time due to a genetic predisposition of actually converting vitamin D in their body. So these folks have to make sure they're taking in way more vitamin D than the average person. They also have to make sure that they're taking in the proper vitamin D, right? Vitamin D3. And again, the other things that I've talked about, okay, skin color makes a difference. The darker your skin, the more vitamin D you need. The time of the day, okay, make sure it's in the middle where you're getting UVB radiation. You're getting at least 20 to 30 minutes of direct sunlight. This is especially prevalent in the summer months when you're out there and you're getting sun exposure, because obviously in the winter, we're not getting enough sun exposure. So those folks definitely have to take a vitamin D supplement. Make sure that, you're getting direct sunlight. And then again, those of you who are worried about sun exposure and that type of thing. So my suggestion has always been go out there for 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes without anything on this, on your skin. And then after that, if you want to put a lotion on or put a coconut oil on or put something, depending on what you use, then put it on after. But get that sun exposure first, because remember, when you put on the lotions and stuff like that, it blocks the vitamin D synthesis. Okay. So go out there again for a few minutes, 20 minutes or so without the lotion, then put the lotion on. This way you can protect yourself from the long-term effects of UVB radiation and that type of thing. So those are just my recommendations. Now, obviously, going into the winter months, you want to start with a minimum of 1,000 IUs of vitamin D. If you are a higher weight, if you are a bigger person, you're going to, I would say up to 3, maybe even 5,000 units. Check with your doctor. Always check your vitamin D levels. If there are 25, then definitely get that vitamin D, 25 hydroxy vitamin D up there. You want to get it above 50. That's the marker. 50 or more is what you're looking for. Okay. So, again, this is what you're looking for. And if you can get it, between 50 and 75, even up to 100, those seem to be the good ranges there. And if you go through the winter supplementing vitamin D, I would take it with food, by the way, just so you know, or take it with something containing fat. That's the best way to take it. So throughout the winter, if you're especially if you're in the climates like I am, in the northern climates, best way to do it. And you're protecting your immune system. You're affecting all those thousands and thousands of genes, and you're making sure you have enough that your body can deal with all the inflammation. Okay. So that's my 2 cents on that. Okay. Next, from Next Health, Big Pharma is buying your favorite supplement brands. Okay. So again, this is for those folks. The article's on georgebatista.com. If you want to, I'm just going to glance through it really quick. But for those of you who want to take a look at that, Big Pharma is in the vitamin supplement business, and they're buying up a lot of brands. Okay. So you have to take a look at it now in terms of, obviously, Big Pharma has always been in direct opposition to supplements. They don't like supplements. They, obviously, the more supplements you use being used properly, the less you may need Big Pharma. It's just that simple. Okay. But now they're actually getting into the supplement game. So let's take a look at some statistics from the article. 70% of Americans taking supplements on a daily basis. It is important to understand where you are purchasing your supplements makes a difference. Okay. This is why folks like myself or nutritionists out there who are recommending supplements, make sure you read your labels. Make sure you take a look at the company. Make sure you do some background information on the company. And by the way, you can Google now all this information. So Google, that company, Google where, that company's stance, and Google what's happened behind the scenes, because you may not know who's taken this supplement company, right? You may not know that they've been bought out by some big pharma company. They may have changed the formulations. That is a big difference, okay? They may be putting more synthetic ingredients, which is going to affect the effectiveness, right? It's going to affect how it's used in your body. There may be things that are more allergen type things in there, right? They can create allergies, they can create problems for people who are sensitive to certain ingredients. These are all things you got to think about. That's why you have to get it from a trusted source. Okay, 30% of adults age 65 and older taking 4 or more supplements of any kind. Okay, so 30% are taking 4 or more supplements of any kind. Now, the supplement industry has been able to grow into a $28 billion market because vitamin deficiencies are also a very real issue in today's society, as approximately 90%, think about this, 90% of Americans suffer from some form of vitamin deficiency. This is why I do this whole show, pretty much, right? Because what have I said? Okay. What have I said from the beginning? The body needs essential nutrition, right? Vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids. This is what your body needs to run. Simple, plain and simple. We know we get some of it from food, but we don't get all of it from food. Okay. So you check out the factory farming, okay, how farming is done. We know minerals in the soil are not as much as they used to, so you're not getting it from that. Okay. We know that digestive systems are terrible these days, right? How many people are on proton pump inhibitors? How many people are on all these kind of all these kind of medications and things that are blocking the effectiveness of these supplements, right? How many people are eating good diets? How many people do you know that eat a supreme diet, right? I guarantee you it's a very small percentage. So this is why I say you must take in these nutrients. You must take in these nutrients, right? If your body has enough of the nutrition, it's much less of an issue, and it's much less of a chance that your body will break down, that things will break down, blood pressure, blood sugar, all these type of things. You have to make sure that you have enough nutrition. Now, research shows that crops grown a decade ago were far more nutrient dense than the crops we have today. This is what I was just saying. In fact, the study from the Kushi Institute analyzed nutrient data across 12 different vegetables over a 2-year period. They found that an average calcium levels decreased by 27%. Iron levels dropped to 37%. They dropped 37%. Vitamin A levels reduced by 21%, and vitamin C levels declined by 30%. And one 18-year-old study that measured the increase in industrially manufactured foods found that Americans get over 50% of their daily calories from ultra processed foods. This is not rocket science, folks, right? We know this is going on, okay? So again, the body needs the essential nutrition. We got to make sure. So along with your good food, you're taking in supplementation that is filling in that gap between what your body needs, okay, and the optimal levels that you need, right? So you have to fill in that gap. This is why I recommend everyone get on some kind of multivitamin, multi-mineral supplement to make sure that you're filling in that gap. Again, it's not rocket science. Most of your doctors are not going to tell you this, but this is why you have shows like me, right? So just making sure that you're doing it and you're getting it from the trusted source, you're getting it from the right source. Now, next, from Wellness Resources, going right into our next article, we're going to talk about some of the brands that have actually been taken over by some of the big pharma supplement or big pharma. We're going to talk about some of the brands that have been taken over by the pharmaceutical companies. Okay, so again, many of these brands were small businesses, but now have been kind of swallowed up. Okay. So the question is, do they hold the same values that they did when they started out? Right? We don't know. Okay. So let's take a look at some of these brands really quick. Centrum, the number one brand of supplements recommended by pharmacists and medical doctors, right? You've seen that commercial all over the place. They are owned by the pharmaceutical giant GlaxoSmithKline. Okay. Now, GSK is a global pharmaceutical company that posted double-digit sales growth in the second quarter of 2022, with its vast focus on general and specific and specialty medicines and vaccines. Next, Nature's Made. Those of you who have seen Nature's Made supplements, well, they are owned by a company called Pharmavite. This is the parent company. The parent company for Pharmavite is a Japanese company, Otsuka Pharmaceuticals. Next, One A Day. I know a lot of people who have been on a One A Day. They are owned by Bayer. Bayer is a global enterprise involved with pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, and agricultural chemicals. Next, General Nutrition Centers, or GNC, was acquired recently by Harbin Pharmaceutical Group, a Chinese, partially state-owned pharmaceutical manufacturer. How many of you folks get your supplements from GNC? I'm not saying that all the supplements in GNC are lumped into this, but think about it, okay? Just think about it, where you're getting or where you're buying your supplements from. Next, New Chapter. Those of you who take New Chapter supplements, do you know that New Chapter was acquired by Procter & Gamble in 2012? Next, Nature's Bounty. Vitafusion Multivites, Swanson's Nature's Way Alive, and all these men's and women's multivitamins and mega foods and many other well-known brands. Well, they're owned by mega pharmaceutical corporations like Nestle, Procter & Gamble, Pfizer, we all know about Pfizer, KKR, SPC, and others. So these are just some examples, and there may be others, some examples of supplement companies. Many of them started out as small companies and again were bought by pharmaceutical interests that are now in the vitamin business. So again, the question is, are they doing this? Did they leave the product alone? Did they mess with the formulations? Did they change the formulations? Right? Are they adhering to the same principles and values that original supplement company talked about? We don't know. So it's hard to say. So you really have to read your labels. You really have to do some backgrounds on wherever you're getting your supplements. Now, again, what do I recommend? I recommend Wellness Resources. Why do I recommend Wellness Resources? Because Wellness Resources supplements are manufactured in the United States. Their labs follow stringent quality guidelines and good manufacturing practices. Each product, each production lot is tested to ensure finished product quality, purity, and potency. Their supplements are made in small batches with the highest quality ingredients, as opposed to mass-produced supplement tablets that are hard to digest, often synthetic, okay, and are filled with all kinds of colorings and aluminum and sugars. And these are a lot of things you find in a lot of these supplement companies that are out there right now in the big box stores. Okay, so I like a company that operates with integrity, that operates with with the consumer in mind, and has not compromised on those principles. Now, just really quick, I wanted to play this clip. This is a clip. I did an interview with Marielle Richards. Those of you who want to check it out, you can go to my archives and you'll see the whole interview with Marielle. It was a fantastic interview. We talked about the founding of Wellness Resources. We talked about the principles that Wellness Resources was founded on and how those principles still exist to this day. But one of the questions I asked her was about that question or being taken over by big pharmaceutical interests. And I want you to check out her answer, because this is one of the reasons why, to me, this is the premier supplement company for myself that I've been using for the last 16 years. And this is why I use them, because of how they operate as a family-owned business. So just check this clip out really quick. It's a very quick clip, but I think it's very telling when it comes to Wellness Resources. I know a lot of supplement companies, and I've myself partnered in the past with a lot of supplement companies, and many of them started as a homegrown company and then eventually got taken over by some kind of big corporation and that type of thing. And I have to assume that came across your desk many times, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. But the more we thought about it, the more we thought, we are who we are. People love us who we are for who and what we provide, who we are and what we provide. And people count on us. And the thought of it being changed or weakened or what have you was just using the Wellness Resources name. It was an integrity thing. It really, really was. So we decided to continue with the modality of straight to the consumer, or through some private practitioners, such as yourself. Right. That kind of thing was fine. We just never went into big supermarkets or big marketing. We just never did that. We wanted to keep it the quality as affordable as possible, the lowest possible price with the quality that you need, and
Absolutely.
enough of it.
Definitely.
And so, yes, that was definitely a business decision, and I think a very wise one.
So that is one of the big reasons why I follow a company like that, because again, there's integrity behind that. Okay. I mean, they've been operating since 1985 with tremendous success as a family owned business, right? I know she has many of her kids who are working in this company. I've spoken to many of them. And you know that it's come across her desk. You know that there have been times that they have been approached by big companies, and I mean, she admitted to that, right? That they've been approached, but they refuse to go that route. Why? Because people depend on them. So the first thing you get out of that is customer first. Our customers rely on us, and we don't know what's going to happen to those formulations if they get into the hands of a pharmaceutical company. We don't know that, right? And the customers like myself and my family and people that I've helped with these supplements, these people rely on these formulations and know that these formulations are put together with integrity. They're put together with the customer in mind, and that there's no compromise. There's no compromise in it. And I mean, just even things like not manufacturing gummies, which is another question I asked her about. And they said, no, they refuse to compromise on that. Why? Because you have to put certain things in gummies that may, there are certain ingredients that you have to put in gummies to make sure they taste good for children or even adults to take them. Well, that can compromise the quality of that supplement. So again, this is why a supplement company like that will always have my loyalty and my number one vote. And this is why my spotlight for this week is going to be just on Wellness Resources and all their nutritional products. And again, you may choose to go with them, and trust me on that, or you may choose not to. But wherever you're getting your supplements from, make sure that you do your research. Make sure that you look at those labels. Make sure that you're reading properly, because you want to make sure, don't just look at it as a supplement, because it's not the case. And you don't want to put ingredients into your body or into your family's body or your child's body that could not only not be effective, but that could cause some kind of reactions or anything like that. You don't want to do that. So you want to do your research. That's the big thing. You want to do your research. I do my research on anything that my family takes. That's just the way I am, because I want to make sure that I'm giving them the best quality. And plus, think about it, right? If you're spending money on supplements, make sure that they're effective. Why do you want to waste money on supplements that are not going to be effective anyway? Okay. And I'm not saying that Wellness Resources is the best for everybody. It may not be, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But at least I know that they operate with integrity, that they operate with the consumer in mind. It's a family-owned business. It remains a family-owned business. And to me, that's extremely important, because they could have made a lot more money, I'm pretty sure, than what they're making. I'm sure, I mean, obviously they're very, very successful, but I'm sure they could have done even better. But you know what? No, it's about the consumer and their loyal clients. And that's why their clients stay with them so long. So just my 2 cents on it. But again, don't look at it as a supplement. Just make sure that you're doing your research, because these pharmaceutical companies are getting their tentacles out there in the supplement companies. And it's important for you to know what you're taking. Okay. So just my 2 cents on it. All right, guys. So that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you guys got a lot of good information from this. Make sure you take care of yourselves and each other. And always, don't ever forget, control your health. Bye-bye now.